If you thought Canada's reputation wasn't bad, wait till you hear this. A Canadian man was caught in America plotting a terror attack that would have been the worst terror attack since 9/11 in New York on specifically Jewish people. That's right. Canada has terrorists, but we knew that. Apparently, our government still ignores that fact, and America worked in conjunction with Canada, and Canada's like, oh, yeah, that guy is actually from here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. I want to thank everyone for getting us to over 400,000 subscribers. I think we're past 401,000. Awesome. We're heading for 500,000, and the only way we can do that is if you guys, a community, actually click and tap that subscribe button and turn that little post notification on so you can be notified of upcoming videos. We got a whole lot to cover in this video, such as Donald Trump making comments about Justin Trudeau's biological father, Fidel Castro, in the news saying, take it back right now. That's not fair. You also have homeless people. No, sorry. You have old people, senior citizens living in tents because of Justin Trudeau here in Canada, along with many other things, and specifically an update in the polls. So without further ado, let's get into it. But before we do, I want to talk about how you can protect yourself. Protect yourself in person, but more specifically protecting yourself online, since we do live in a digital world. And the best way to do that is with today's sponsor. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We have teamed up and we are offering my audience 83% off by using code SUNSHINE, which can be linked down in the description or the pinned comment below. We're living in a world of censorship, and Justin Trudeau is at the forefront of this race. Canadians are being censored left, right, and center, which is why you have to protect yourself with a VPN, such as Private Internet Access. What a VPN does is it encrypts your information so that while you're browsing online, you're going to different websites, your information, your personal data is not shared with these massive corporations. It's almost like putting a cloak over yourself, and the best possible way that I like going about this is using the cloak, such as Private Internet Access. Even when it comes to getting the news here in Canada, there's an insane level of censorship. You can't even get Canadian news on Facebook, for crying out loud. Above and beyond the news, if you want to get different content on streaming platforms such as Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, because a lot of these corporations, they geo-lock content, such as in Canada, you can only watch Canadian Netflix. But with Private Internet Access, you can bypass that and you can watch American Netflix, UK Netflix. It's really an interesting thing, and it unlocks a whole new world of content out there. The best part about it is that you're not just restricted to doing that from a computer or a tablet. You can do that from your phone, and you can have a whole lot of devices linked to your Private Internet Access account, which is incredible. Private Internet Access is not only user-friendly, it's extremely affordable, and it is the best way of saying F you to the government. You can get 83% off of Private Internet Access by using the link down in the description or the pinned comment below. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. All right, folks, I am extremely excited to announce that the polls have updated, and just as I predicted, they have gone up for Pierre and down for Justin Trudeau. Pierre Poilievre is now at 212 projected seats, up from 210 with a bottom line of 181, top end 234. Bada bing, bada boom. Holy smokes. Justin Trudeau is, hold on a second here. Let me zoom in. That's a small number. 77 projected seats. Oof. Oh my goodness. Down from, what was he, 83 or 85? Bottom end of 53, top end of 103. Wow. Yeah, he's losing support left, right, and center. And then you have odds of winning the most seats, 99% likely for Pierre Poilievre, and odds of a majority government, 99% likely across the board. It is not looking good. The Bloc Québécois seem to have gone up 1 seat, 2 seats, who knows? And Jagmeet Singh is still at 16 projected seats. So everyone who we want to go ahead and go up the polls is going up, and everyone else is staying exactly where they need to be, down in the slumps. And now let's talk a little bit about some things happening in America, specifically the woke mind virus. Renowned actor, but I guess WWE champion Bautista, at least that's how I knew of him. He used to look like this. He used to be an absolute tank. He's also been featured in many of the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy movies. This is what he looks like. He, they, them, she, I have no idea, but Bautista looks like this now, and that is because of Bidenomics. That's right. Anyone in America, any Hollywood actor is now undergoing massive transformations and transitions, usually for the worst. And speaking of for the worst, there's an update with Venezuela. Opposition presidential candidate Gonzalez flees Venezuela for asylum in Spain, but it's actually part of a deal. So don't worry, it's not full-on communist dictatorship. It was part of a deal, part of a negotiated deal with Nicolas Maduro's government that dealt a major blow to millions who placed their hopes in his opposition campaign. He said, "Get out or you're going to face consequences." So now she has gotten out and faces asylum seeking in Spain. That is absolutely crazy. And then you have more shooting happening in the West Bank, Jordan border. And this time it is killing 3 Israelis. And then you have the upcoming presidential debate. For those that don't know, it's going to happen September 10th on Tuesday in 2 days. So I do think that I will be streaming it here on this channel, but stay tuned because you never know. It might be, I don't think it would be on House of Canada. I think it will be here on Mr. Sunshine Baby. And then let's get into some Canadian news. So I went on X and I posted this the other day, yesterday. I was thinking about taking my family out for dinner, right? I was thinking, oh, yeah, it's nice. There's a sunflower patch that we went to. Maybe we're going to go to dinner afterwards. And then I looked up how much, dinner would potentially cost at Montana's. And you have $17.99 mac and cheese. You add tax, you add gratuity. And of course, I'm not eating mac and cheese. My wife isn't eating mac and cheese. My kid is eating mac and cheese. And yes, my kid would obviously eat from the kids' meal, but I just thought that price was absolutely crazy. And I'm not wrong. I'm not the only one either. You have the contrarian here who's posted on X, just ordered this in a hotel in Vancouver to my room, $42. Did not even order a coffee. You've got bread, you got a couple pieces of bacon, you got some potatoes, you got a couple pieces of lettuce and 2 eggs that look like they simmered in a pan on one of the lowest levels for about 10 minutes, and then the chef walked away. Nothing fancy about this. Absolutely crazy. $42. I know hotel prices are crazy, but that just doesn't make any sense. That used to be the cost of a night in a hotel, and I'm willing to bet in a very small community that's probably close to the cost of a night in a motel. So you have 1 night stay with a bed and 4 walls, or egg breakfast. Kind of crazy that is the Canada that we live in. But I'd love to know what you guys think about the food prices down below in the comments. And then you have Table Salt here on X saying a Liberal elected member of Parliament is attacking a Canadian journalist because she's daring to bite the hand that feeds her. Incredible how much damage a party and minister can do in 9 years. And then you have Liberal MP Talib saying your paper wouldn't be in business if it weren't for government subsidies. Kind of crazy, but also very scary that that's true. And this is why Pierre Poilievre's "we're going to defund the CBC" mission statement is so impactful in Canada, because we have media outlets that are literally paid by our government massive millions, if not billions of dollars, and they are not going to be critical the way they should be from an unbiased perspective of the Canadian government. So Pierre's mission of defunding the CBC is actually something that the majority of Canadians agree with. But I'll pass the question off to you. Do you agree that the CBC should be defunded? Let me know down in the comments. And then you have this weird post from Jagmeet Singh has resurfaced. So this is real. Jagmeet Singh, back in 2016, shared a photo of Fidel Castro, Justin Trudeau's father, and said he saw a country racked by poverty, illiteracy, and disease. So he led a revolution that uplifted the millions of lives. Rest in peace. That is wild. And Jordan Peterson actually found this and said, reminder, who is a hero to the real Jagmeet Singh? And I'm just blown away that that's like a real thing that has happened. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is missing Fidel Castro, Justin Trudeau's father. I'm not sure, but apparently that seems to be the real deal. And I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And now we're taking a look at something that is actually very devastating here. You have End Wokeness account is sharing this video of Canadian media saying this is an absolute travesty. Canadian seniors are living in tents while third world illegals get free housing. And I mean, this is crazy. People that seek asylum in Canada and immigration that are newcomers to Canada, they can actually qualify for up to, like, I think the salary is $83,000 or $85,000 per year. People that are new to the country, people that are seeking asylum in this country, can get paid $83,000 a year, not to do anything, just as a like welcome bonus to this country. Meanwhile, you have actual Canadian senior citizens that are living in tents, man. This is so heartbreaking.
This is where we're living.
In this tent lives 77-year-old Judy Howe with her 80-year-old partner George, a situation she never imagined to be in. She says they had an apartment in Halifax before the building was sold and to be torn down. After that, they went to Ontario to be with George's dying mother, but they couldn't afford to stay there and chose to return to Halifax.
It's not home. You know, it's not a place you can cook a meal for yourself. You can take a shower. We go up to the Y on Park Street here. I always get lost. Trying to find my way out. And that's where we shower at. And you can go there every day if you want, you know. And thank God they have that service. But it's not where I want to be. I go to bed crying at night. At night I go to bed crying and I pray to God, asking Him to get me out of here. I need to be out of here.
With the couple's deteriorating health, a volunteer street navigator is desperate to get them into affordable housing.
Judy is the age that my mom would be if she was still alive. And it breaks my heart to see that people who have been born and raised in Canada and Nova Scotia are now having to face this. They were offered a pallet in the new seniors pallet village on Atlantic Street, but Judy does not feel safe having to be in her own pallet because they're only singles.
The minister?
Yeah, no spouses allowed. It's just wild. Like, where the hell are we spending our money? First of all, our healthcare system is absolutely atrocious. We should be aiming to have medical tourism here in Canada. Our healthcare system should be top tier. This is Canada. We're not some slum country. This is Canada, for crying out loud. But our politicians have mismanaged our money, our taxpayers' fund, and they've just ruined this country to the point where you have senior citizens that should be living in either a senior home or in, government provided or government subsidized housing, and instead they're living in tents on blow up mattresses in arguably one of the most harshest climates in Canada, the East Coast, right? The summers, absolutely, they're doable, but come wintertime, what's going to happen, right? It's just so freaking devastating, and I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Now, this is what the Toronto Star has to say. Toronto Star is saying, hey, just because you don't like Justin Trudeau, that's not a good enough reason not to vote for him. I gotta say, man, I am sick and tired of seeing headlines like that by the Toronto Star. Just because he's ruined the country, just because he's mismanaged all of our money and he's ruined people's lives with the restrictions that he imposed during the whole COOF thing, just because people are having to go bankrupt right now. They can't afford their housing, they can't afford groceries, they can't afford to feed their kids. Just because he's done all of that, the Toronto Star says it's not a good enough reason to vote him out. That is just a load of malarkey, man. I cannot believe that is a real freaking headline. Moving on to more depressing news here in Canada, CTV is reporting that a woman charged for alleged Snapchat posts threatening an Oshawa school. An 18-year-old woman has been charged for allegedly making a threat on Snapchat to shoot a school in Oshawa. Durham Region Police said they received information from the RCMP concerning Snapchat posts they intercepted. And they were seized. The warrant was issued for a house in Whitby. They seized 18 firearms, 5 airsoft guns, and more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And my response to this is, what the hell is going on in Canada? Why are more and more of these stories happening of people, wanting to commit crimes, threatening to shoot, actual shootings, increased crime, and then above and beyond all of that, you got insane stories like this right here. Okay, a Toronto man accused of plotting terror attack at a Jewish center in New York City. And this was going to be on October 7th in light of the 1-year anniversary of what happened from Hamas, that they committed those atrocities at that music festival in Israel last year, right? And this was apparently going to be worse, or the worst thing since 9/11. Let's take a look at this American media outlet here talking about this. This is just like, what the hell is going on, man? Canada's reputation is that of, we harbor terrorists and we're brewing up criminals and deploying them around the world. It's just freaking crazy.
Breaking news. The Justice Department says a planned terror attack in New York City has been thwarted. The suspect allegedly wanted to target Jewish people on October 7th, 1 year after the attack in Israel. The suspect was quoted by the FBI as saying, "If we succeed with our plan, this would be the largest attack on U.S. soil since 9/11. CBS's Nancy Cordes is at the White House with new reporting. Good evening, Nancy. It is chilling to read what this suspect was planning.
It really is, Nora, and it took the FBI working with Canadian law enforcement to identify and apprehend this suspect, who is now accused of plotting to carry out a mass shooting at a Jewish center in Brooklyn, which authorities say he wanted to do just over a month from today. The suspect's name is Mohammed Shahzeb Khan. He is a 20-year-old Pakistani citizen who lived in Canada. He allegedly began posting on social media in support of ISIS last November, and eventually, without his knowledge, began communicating with 2 undercover law enforcement officers.
Okay, so I guess I have to correct my statement. He's not a Canadian. He's a Pakistani citizen who lived in Canada. And we have a lot of those similar situations of foreign citizens that are living in Canada, that are here on temporary visas, that are here through seeking asylum, that are applying for their permanent residency, and they are terrorists. They have links to ISIS. They've been in beheading videos in ISIS, obviously not the ones getting beheaded, or else they wouldn't be here, right? Like the father and son terrorists there that got caught, that were about to commit an act of terror in Toronto. It's just, it's crazy. It's craziness. Like, either our borders are messed up, our intelligence service is not very good, our law enforcement is not very good, and something needs to be done, because this is not the Canada that anyone voted for. Whether you voted Liberal, whether you voted NDP, nobody voted for Canada becoming like an increasingly larger terrorist country. It just doesn't make any sense, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on.
That's what led them to him. According to Attorney General Merrick Garland, the defendant is alleged to have planned a terrorist attack in New York City around October 7th of this year, with the stated goal of slaughtering, in the name of ISIS, as many Jews as possible. October 7th, of course, will mark 1 year since the brutal surprise attack by Hamas on Israeli citizens that left nearly 1,200 people dead. Now, Khan was apprehended just a couple of days ago in Quebec. It's believed he was headed towards the U.S. border. A resident in the area said she saw police officers outside her home put a man in handcuffs on her front lawn.
They said that it was confidential and they couldn't tell me what was going on. I just saw, the SWAT team vans and the army and the guys all in camouflage with the M16s.
This suspect allegedly told the undercover officers that he chose New York City because it has, quote, the largest Jewish population in America and, quote, we could easily rack up a lot of Jews. He is charged with one count of attempting to provide support to terrorists. Nora?
Good work by the...
You know, if this was something that Justin Trudeau took a little bit more seriously and our law enforcement took a little bit more seriously, maybe we wouldn't be at this level of escalation. You have pro-Hamas protesters, pro-Palestine protesters in the streets calling for the extermination and death of Jews every single day, every single week here in Canada. It's easy to spot them. They have these massive Palestine flags. They have smoke grenades, and they are causing havoc in the streets, calling for these anti-Semitic things that Justin Trudeau says we don't tolerate anti-Semitism. Yet he keeps allowing this to happen, and then you have more and more like terrorist Jew haters that are spawning from Canada. It just doesn't make any sense at all, man. And I'd love to pass a question off to you. How do you feel about this? Are you angry with the government? Are you fed up with this level of incompetence? Because it seems like somewhere someone has just incompetently messed up, and now we're left with a very vulnerable system here in Canada. And now let's take a look at what Donald Trump has said about Justin Trudeau. So Trump repeats conspiracy theory that Prime Minister Trudeau could be the son of Fidel Castro. Now, this was said earlier in August on a stream with, I think it was Aiden Ross, a massive streamer. They say he's the son of Fidel Castro, and he could be. Anything's possible in this world. Anything he could be, he could be. All right, that's what Trump said. Well, now the media is calling for him to retract that because apparently that got put into a book. Let's just take a look at this.
And news south of the border now. Two former federal ministers are calling on Donald Trump to apologize over questions he raised about Prime Minister Trudeau's paternity. A statement from Lloyd Axworthy and Alan Rock reads in part, "It is reported that you made calumnious assertions with respect to Mr. Trudeau's paternity. Apart from its falsity, the statement as reported was vile, vulgar, and deeply offensive. We ask that you tender an apology to Mr. Trudeau and to Canadians for your profoundly offensive words." The comments were reportedly made in Trump's upcoming book, Saving American. The former president allegedly calls into question whether former Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau is really Trudeau's father.
It's just an ongoing thing. And at this point, I mean, you might as well just embrace the fact that Fidel Castro was your father. Even your buddy Jagmeet Singh here praises Fidel Castro. So it's okay, Trudeau. It's okay. You can tell us the truth. And then you have the National Post here saying, could Prime Minister Justin Trudeau step down? Here's what would happen if he does. Trudeau insists he will lead his party into the next election, despite polls citing his unpopularity among Canadians. That we very much know and are aware of. All right. The Liberal caucus is set to meet in Nanaimo, BC next week for a retreat ahead of the fall parliamentary sitting. Prime Minister Trudeau insists he will lead his party into the next election, despite he is extremely unpopular. Could Prime Minister Trudeau step down? Absolutely, but a decision to step down comes a lot harder now that the NDP have pulled out of a supply and confidence agreement with the Liberals, which has helped keep the minority government in power. If Trudeau were to resign, the NDP could vote with the Conservatives on a confidence motion and trigger a snap election. That could leave the Liberal Party without a leader as parties vie to votes. And that is something that we think is going to happen. It's actually more than likely. And I've been asked this question. I've been DM'd on Twitter. Or sorry, I've been not Twitter. I've been DM'd on Instagram. I've been asked this question by members of the community. I personally am, I would say, like before the coalition agreement got torn up, I would say that I was maybe 60-70% likely under my belief, that we would see an early election. And right now, I'm at about 90 or 95%. That is where my opinion stands, that I think that we are almost certain to see an election happen before the scheduled federal election. Everybody knows Pierre is going to win. I think Jagmeet Singh is just trying to position himself a little bit better, wait for Trudeau to mess up more, which, to be honest, is not that bad of a strategy. Justin Trudeau is really good at putting his own foot in his mouth. Now let's take a look at what the mainstream media has to say about Trudeau, because they are admitting that he is in deep trouble.
And significant political blows. The federal Liberal caucus retreat in BC starts Monday as the party figures out its next steps. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will face a fretful and strained caucus, with MPs looking for him to reveal his plan to address the political purgatory the party has endured for months. Over the summer, several Liberal MPs privately and publicly demanded a meeting with Trudeau after the devastating by-election loss of a Liberal stronghold in Toronto. All right, let's bring in Tom Mulcair, CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader. Tom, good to see you as always.
Good to be with you, Renee.
Now, the Prime Minister will be in British Columbia tomorrow with MPs looking for him to finally reveal his plan to address these dismal polling numbers that the party has endured for months. What do you think the plan is here?
Well, I think that one of the things he's trying to do is change the channel a little bit. We know that Mark Carney is one of those people who's been waiting in the wings for a tap on the shoulders if Trudeau decides to step down. So Trudeau's trying to get ahead of that. He's bringing Carney into the caucus meeting, which is clever. Carney got beat up quite a bit for not having run for Trudeau in the 2021 election. You might recall there was a phase where all of the Liberal pundits and people who were their mouthpieces on the air were, every time his name came up, he said, yeah, but when we asked him to run, he didn't. So Carney's playing it smart as well. He's showing his availability. He's going into the caucus meeting. As for Trudeau himself, I think that your setup was pitch perfect. I don't think there's any better way to say it, Renee. Trudeau is in trouble with his own caucus. He knows that. He's in trouble in the polls. He knows that. The fact that Singh walked out this week is no help. And there are two by-elections coming up on Monday, the 16th, the same day Parliament goes back. And those could have a determining effect on Trudeau's future. One of them, in Winnipeg, the Liberals aren't in. It's basically a fight between the Conservatives and the NDP. NDP has a strong candidate, The Conservatives are throwing everything they can at it. They'd love to grab it. They have a chance of doing that. In Montreal, that's going to be the exciting one. From all the information I'm getting, it's split essentially 30-30-30 amongst the Liberals, the Bloc Québécois, and the NDP. Conservatives, again, are not in that one. They're at about 10% in the door-to-door polling. So if Trudeau were to lose that one, it's a safe Liberal seat. It was David Lametti, the Attorney General's seat. If he loses that one, Renee, that will be huge trouble for Trudeau. So this is all against the backdrop of a very nervous caucus. And you know what? When you're a leader of a party, I talked to you a bit about that. You don't like it when your caucus is nervous. You like to have them buoyed up a bit, feeling good. Nobody, people are saying very open things. Wayne Long, MP, saying, look, we have no chance of defeating Poilievre if Trudeau stays as leader. So that's pretty tough stuff to hear from somebody who was a Liberal MP.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, a lot of people see former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney as a potential successor to Trudeau. Is there a chance he's not just there to help with a financial plan, Tom?
Well, I think a little bit like we were saying before, he's doing it a bit for the party and a bit to help Trudeau, because it does help Trudeau that he's there and it gets a little bit of pressure and changes the topic a bit. But at the same time, he's doing something for himself because he's got to show himself to be a Liberal loyalist first and foremost. This is one extremely capable guy. He's very, very smart. I hear some people try to dismiss him and say, oh, he'd be like Ignatieff because he's never been in politics before. That'd be a serious mistake to compare Mark Carney to Michael Ignatieff, two totally different beasts. This guy grew up in the Northwest Territories, very humble roots, went on to the most amazing jobs. And even today, Renee, he's got a top job at the United Nations on climate change and finance. So, this guy is the real deal in terms of these very important jobs that he's had over the years. And the Liberals, are giving him a serious look. There are people in cabinet who are top-notch, think Chrystia Freeland, but every time anybody would talk to them in a debate or if they were to become the leader, they'd have to wear every single bad decision of Justin Trudeau. So I think that the idea of freshness comes with Carney, and we'll see what type of reception he receives. I don't know if the cameras are going to be allowed to be there when Carney is introduced, but I'd love to see what type of applause he gets from the caucus.
I don't think there will be any cameras. I think they're going to keep it pretty hush hush, and I think it's going to be this newfound strategy that they're going to bring in. They're going to bring in some fresh blood, and I think that it will do them good. I hate to say it, I really, really do, but there's nothing that they could really do strategically to make it worse. Like, they've almost hit rock bottom, and they're going to try to bounce back. And not that Mark Carney is going to be their savior and lead them or assist in leading them into the Liberals into, the next election where they could potentially win. I really don't think that that's possible. I think that there's less than 1% chance that that's even likely. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. Apparently 338 polling also thinks the exact same thing, less than 1% likelihood of winning, right? But I do think that Mark Carney is better than Chrystia Freeland, for instance, and I think that he brings a level of professionalism that really, I know he's a WEF shill, I know all those things, but I'm talking for the average person that doesn't watch social media, that just watches mainstream media. Mark Carney is a breath of fresh air, unfortunately, but we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out, and we're finally going to get to put that bet to rest very, very soon. And all the speculation of, is Mark Carney going to be an official MP? Is he going to run in a by-election? Is he going to do any of these things? Well, we're going to get those answers in the next week. So finally, that's kind of good. Some closure, I guess, and then we can re-strategize accordingly. And on that note, that's where we're going to end this video. I'd love to know what you guys think down below about any of the topics that were covered. And on your way out, I'd like to encourage you guys one last time to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.